Peace and love, family. Peace and love. We will be starting soon. Peace and love to the family. Please make sure y'all click like and subscribe. Please share with your family, especially men who you know may be going through the discussion today, or just men, period. Because this is something that a lot more men need to take accountability in and responsibility in, especially for their own health. So make sure y'all share it, family. Make sure y'all share it. We'll be back soon. Welcome, family. Peace, love, balance, and prosperity to the family. It's your brother, your servant, your herbalist, Mikael Ben Orr. This is the Edenic Experience. Welcome to Mike Mondays as we go and do our holistic health lecture. Today we'll actually be discussing the high rise of prostate cancer and even erectile dysfunction that we're seeing in a lot of men today, especially the black man. We're going to go through a lot of different things of what's going on, why it's going on, and how we can actually achieve homeostasis even in our reproductive organs. So y'all want to make sure y'all got y'all pens, make sure y'all got y'all notebooks. If there's any questions you may have, make sure you drop it in the comments towards the end, and we'll get to it. Probably give like one more minute to let people climb in. But please make sure y'all click like and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your family. It costs nothing to do it. We give it out free information at the end of the day for the benefit of the community. So if you know anybody who may be going through this, or just a man, period, black man, period, share this video because they really need to hear this message. And it's time that we take back the power of our own conscience to start taking our health serious, because it's as if it's on the back burner, unfortunately, within our own community. So make sure y'all share this. In about 1 minute, we're going to get started. Over here sipping my chai tea, kai tea, however you want to say it, life tea. All right. So let's get started, family. Welcome again to the channel. This is KTV Podcast. Welcome. My name is Mikael Ben Orr, servant, certified herbalist, certified nutritionist, out of Atlanta, Georgia. Shalom, shalom, brother. Welcome everybody coming in and those who will be watching the feed after the recording. Peace and blessings to you. Today we're going to be talking about erectile dysfunction and prostate cancer, high rise of prostate cancer in the Black community. The reason I wanted to really go over this is because it's becoming a common thing in our community, no different than diabetes. Specifically in Black men, outside of heart disease, you're seeing a lot of Black men suffer from prostate cancer, which following erectile dysfunction. And that's a major problem. It's a major problem in our community. Y'all know last week we went over the high rise and plague of yeast infection and vaginitis within the Black woman or woman, period. And now we're going to deal with the men because we don't actually see that our environment is playing a major role, not only in our spiritual dysfunction, but our psychological dysfunction and also our physical dysfunction. Your environment shapes your reality. Your environment causes chemical reactions. Your environment shapes your perspective of spirituality, or some may label as religion. Your environment plays a major role in what culture you bind yourself to, what culture shapes your character, and just the aspiration, inspiration, or degeneration of a people. And we don't realize that our external environment is playing a major factor on the sickness, disease, and plague that has been hitting our community. And yes, the reality is, although we did not create the environment, we most definitely are supporting the environment. We are buying into the environment, and we are investing in the environment, and not realizing the environment is the whole purpose of the environment is to keep you oppressed, depressed, and suppressed. And that's spiritually, that's psychologically, and that's physically. And we're going to find that out today. So when you look at our community, or when you look at society, period, especially in America, right? Because the reality is, when it comes to predominantly all these countries, these continents, the United States is the literal sickest country in all the world. We are number one in every disease possible that you can think of. And you have to understand this. A lot of times it takes you to go outside the country to see this, but there's even certain products that America gives to its societal members that is literally banned in other countries. It's so banned that if you actually bring it and import it into the country, you can be serving almost 2 years for bringing that toxic, weaponized material cost food in somebody's country, like Switzerland, like certain parts of the UK. There are certain foods and chemical compounds that you cannot bring into that country, or you literally can go to jail for that. They'll even put children in jail for bringing that. That's how serious they are about protecting their societal members from products that America is not only producing, but also selling to other people or exporting to other people. So you got it. Something has to click into our mind of why is over 54 substances of food and hundreds of certain type of medicine that other countries not accepting, and we're not asking why. Why is it that these countries are not accepting? What are they seeing that we're not? What are they realizing that we are not realizing? What conclusion are they coming to that we're not seeing coming to the same conclusion? And a lot of the reason is because we're staying ignorant to our own environment. We are staying docile to our own environment. We are buying into the program of our own environment that was literally created to keep you not only stupid, but to keep you sick, so you can bind yourself always to the government, so you can bind yourself always to the pharmaceutical company, so you can always bind yourself to the hospitals, because so long as you are sick, they got money coming in. This is the only country that truly, at the top of the chain, that truly benefits off your sickness. And we're not doing anything about it. We're not doing anything about it. We're not researching. We're not searching it out. We're not looking into the text. We're not reading the ingredients. We're not reading these labels. And we're just saying, okay, because it's become a generational trait or a generational, custom in our own families, that obviously had to be okay if mama was doing it. Obviously, it had to be okay if Big Mama was doing it. Obviously, it had to be okay if Granddad was doing it. Not realizing that by the time you get to the same age that they were, that you start to see yourself called having the same exact sickness, dealing with the same dis-ease that they dealt with, repeating the same very patterns that they dealt with, buying into the diet, thinking that you're going to pray over it and live forever, getting to that age, getting sick, and now you have bound yourself for the rest of your life to a hospital, whether that be on hospice or being on these pharmaceutical medicines that you got to take for the rest of your life, dealing with getting your insulin levels up, or taking a shot, whatever it is that you're having to start taking, because you're repeating the same, not just generational curses, but you're repeating the same generational patterns. And the only way that we can truly break the pattern is to start educating ourselves about the very system that put us into spiritual, physical, and psychological captivity. So if y'all ready to move forward, drop some sevens in the chat. If y'all ready to move forward, drop some sevens in the chat. Anybody get started? Y'all ready to move forward, drop some sevens in the chat. All right, let's get started. So when you look at men, period, right? When you research and you go to the peer-reviewed documents of these doctors and these scholars and these PhD people, when you start to really look at the paperwork that they're putting out here, you will see based upon the testing, that 60% of men at some point will suffer from not only erectile dysfunction, but they will suffer from prostate cancer. You actually see at this time period, about 20% of men between the ages of 20 years old and upward are suffering already from erectile dysfunction. You are seeing men from the ages of 40 and up. You actually see about maybe 52% of men 40 and up suffering from erectile dysfunction and prostate cancer. Now, what exactly is erectile dysfunction? Erectile dysfunction simply is when there's not enough blood flow going to the shaft or going to the penis, allowing it to actually erect, or as we say in our culture, get hard, right? A man is not able to get an erection when the blood flow is not properly going through the shaft, going through properly through the urethra of that penis, which we'll get to, right? And so what is the actual cause of why blood flow is not properly getting distributed to the shaft, right? Why are a lot of men failing in the bedroom? Why are a lot of men having trouble urinating? Why are a lot of men having trouble having babies, right? Because a lot of times people think it's the woman. But if you actually start to look, especially from the 1991 up until now, you will see a great increase of men actually not being able to plant fertile seed in the woman. See, it's not always the woman who has maybe a barren womb. Sometimes, and especially now in a lot of cases, you're starting to see men who's not able to not only ejaculate properly, but they're not even able to bring forth true reproductive live seed. They're bringing forth sterile seed or the lack thereof. But why is that? You will see a lot of increase in people who are dealing with diabetes, right? Diabetes. You have cardiovascular disease going on. A lot of men dealing with high cholesterol, which obviously leads to heart disease at the end of the day. And then you see a lot of men are not working out like they used to. A lot of men are not even getting jobs that actually put his body through physical labor or physical activity like they used to. A lot of brothers are not in the factory job no more. A lot of brothers are not in the field no more. A lot of brothers are not doing construction job no more because they are becoming blue collar, because that has been the American dream that has been sold to us. Be a blue collar worker, work behind the desk. That's where the real bread is at. But we're not realizing that this construct, externals, including the jobs, is causing men not to only lack physical activity, but because of that physical activity, it's causing their organs or their members of their body to dysfunction, mainly in the erectile area or the penis. Now, why specifically the penis? Because if you know anything about the penis, it is powered by something called testosterone. Now, what's the purpose of testosterone? Testosterone is not only just to create semen and be able to put seed in a woman, but testosterone for men helps build muscle mass, helps to build bone mass. It actually has a major part to help develop your hair on your skin and the hair on your head. It helps with your energy levels, And the reality, it's what helps develop you as a man, or have your man parts like your pectorals and everything, period. Uh-oh, look like I froze. Can y'all hear me? We going through a little storm right now, so I want to can y'all hear me? I want to make sure y'all can hear me. We're going through a little storm. Can y'all hear me? If y'all can hear me, drop some ones. Y'all can hear me, drop some ones. I want to make sure, I just saw it glitch a little bit, so I want to make sure y'all can actually hear me. Drop some ones in the chat if y'all can hear me. Okay, perfect. So as I was saying, when you look at testosterone, testosterone plays a major part not only of making sure that a man is getting an erection, he's bearing seed, but it plays a major role in the growth and development of a man's physique, period, from his muscle mass to his bone mass to his hair on his head and to the hair on his skin. This is actually what helps him yield a lot of energy. You will see a lot of men when they're lacking energy, which we know energy has a lot to do with your thyroid gland. But remember, if you ever took one of my courses, I always say, when there's one thing wrong, there's always going to be one or two other things that's wrong. So oftentimes when you're seeing somebody with low insulin or high cholesterol, like I said, or high diabetes, or in this case, lack of energy, you will actually see they're having dysfunction in their reproductive organ as well. But why is that? Why is that? Well, one of the main causes of erectile dysfunction is drugs. And I'm not just talking about pharmaceutical medicines, because pharmaceutical medicines, if you actually, this is why I said, we got to start educating ourselves and starting to read the labels. Remember, Dr. Amos Wilson said what? Education should be used to problem solve people. So we start to educate ourselves by reading. So starting to educate yourself on them big, long words that the doctor's not explaining to you, you will find out that a lot of those long words have dysfunctions and bad reactions in the body in them. But a lot of us don't take the time to read the labels, nor research what does that word mean, but we take the word of the doctors for face value. We take his instruction for face value. Never, forever not learning. We're never searching out the matter. And this is why our people are destroyed mentally, because we're lacking the knowledge. So when you start to read these labels and you start to see what these labels do, like red 40, blue 1, yellow 5, yellow 1, and you start to see what they do, you will actually see they have a major impact on your hormonal levels, and not in a good way. So when we look at the pharmaceutical medicines not only can it slow your blood down, the pumping of your blood down, but it starts to actually weaken your immune system versus what it should be doing, which is helping your immune system. And anytime you start to weaken the immune system, and anytime you start to have the hormonal levels go down, there start to become dis-ease or dysfunction. You see that? So when you actually really look at it, it's not necessarily that you're dealing with what they call sickness, but there is a dysfunctionality going on in the body. There's a dis-ease, and something that is foreign has come in and invade it and cause all the members of the body to dysfunction. So when you look at why most men who going through erectile dysfunction and even prostate cancer, is because they're taking on things in the body that are causing their members to be dysfunctional. So one of them, like I said, is pharmaceutical medicines. Another one, and this is a big one because this is a big thing in the Black community, weed. And I'm not talking about pure cannabis. I'm not talking about pure cannabis with seed. That's okay. Do I agree that you should smoke it? No, because there's things in the smoke that actually start to deteriorate and shut down your lungs. So no, I don't agree with smoking, but if you want to take it as a tea, nothing wrong with that. Even if you want to take it as a edible, it's nothing wrong with that, so long as you're using it for true healing and medicinal use and not trying to abuse it by getting high. There's nothing wrong with it. So when you look at the medicine or the weed that's on the street, it's not real cannabis. That's why you got so many weed dispensaries. A lot of that is not real. And what they're actually doing to the weed is they're actually having two cannabis plants that are actually feminine. And they're actually mixing and mingling and they're mating them together, which is causing the estrogen levels even in that plant to skyrise high, which actually makes a man specifically, it makes his hormones, it makes his testosterone go low and it makes his estrogen go high. Now, if you remember anything that we went over last week, right? Remember, we said that a woman's vagina is naturally acidic. It's not a bad thing, but remember that lubrication was there to protect her and burn off any infirmity seeds that it didn't want. So if we know that estrogen plays a part in making the vagina acidic, what do you think that estrogen would do for the man? What do you think that estrogen would do when his estrogenic levels go up and his testosterone levels go high or low? What do you think will happen? He will start to produce acid in his areas. He will start to produce inflammation. And this is where you start to see an enlarged prostate. This is where you start to see an inflamed prostate, where it went from a walnut-like shaped prostate to almost looking like a brain or dismembered watermelon. So you got pharmaceutical medicine and you got weed. Yes, smoking weed does cause a man estrogen levels to raise up. That's why when you see most men who smoke weed actually are very emotional. They lack emotional intelligence. They're very reactive, versus very responsive, because they're thinking with their estrogenic side versus their testosterone level side, which is the logic side. So when you see that, that's the weed. So now, are you saying that weed can start to cause erectile dysfunction in men? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. It starts to make not only his brain go limp, but it also makes his penis go limp. Another one is soy. Men should not be eating soy at all. Should not be eating soy at all. You will actually see, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Oh, we got time. Let me see if I can pull it up. We got time. No, we ain't got time. But you can look it up and research. You will see that soy causes the estrogen levels in men to go sky high. That's why you see a lot of men who eat soy, you will see that either they're very emotional or you will see that they start to grow boobs, which we know that boobs, titties, is a female trait. Well, guess what? The main hormone that powers females is estrogen. So what do you think will start to happen if your estrogenic levels go up? You become more emotional. You become more sensitive. And that's okay for a woman, but when a man starts to step into that physical element and emotional element of acting like a woman, that's where we start to see dis-ease and dysfunction at. So he starts to physically grow breasts. He will start to see his man part starts to go limp and he's not able to get an erection. He will see his blood flow start to slow down and he's not pumping like he used to. He will even see him having a hard time urinating. So now we're getting into signs. What's some of the signs they're dealing with? You're lacking testosterone, or you're going through prostate issues or erectile issues. One, again, I named one. You're having a hard time either getting your penis up or you're having a hard time keeping your penis up. Another one is when you're ejaculating. you should be actually ejaculating almost a half a teaspoon or maybe a little bit more. But if you're not ejaculating half a teaspoon, that is another sign that you're not producing enough semen. So that's another sign that you're starting to have a prostate issue. Another sign, if you find yourself urinating, you have to force yourself to urinate. You're having to force yourself to urinate. You're having a difficult time urinating, starting off urinating, and then you may find even after you actually urinate that you start to drip. If you're still dripping after you're done urinating, these are actual signs that you're having prostate dysfunction. If y'all got that so far, I want to make sure y'all got that. If y'all got that so far, type in some threes. If y'all got that so far, type in some threes. If y'all got that so far, type in some threes. Cool, cool. So we got the signs of what we see causes, what we see going towards a prostate cancerous environment, or what we see going towards erectile dysfunction. Now going back to what causes it. So we went through pharmaceutical medicines. We went through weed, synthetic weed. Let me be clear, synthetic weed. I'm not talking about pure cannabis. I'm talking about synthetic seedless weed. That also raises your estrogenic levels, which cause your testosterone levels to go down. Then you're dealing with processed foods. Processed foods actually causes a high rise in prostate cancer and a high rise in erectile dysfunction. Now keep in mind, when we're dealing with erectile dysfunction, like I said, you will see a lot of times erectile dysfunction is coupling with diabetes. So you'll oftentimes find somebody with diabetes having erectile dysfunction. You find somebody who's dealing with cardiovascular disease, dealing with erectile dysfunction. You'll find somebody who's dealing with heart disease, dealing with erectile dysfunction. And one of the biggest ones is high cholesterol. A lot of men deal with high cholesterol, and one of the causes of high cholesterol outside of food is stress. Anytime you're pumping a lot of cortisol out of the adrenal gland and pumping a lot of adrenaline that's getting dumped off into the blood, it naturally causes your cholesterol levels to go up. Not only to actually focus, but to keep you alert even when that anxiety starts to kick in. So now don't get me wrong, producing cortisol is not bad. Producing adrenaline is not bad. But the problem with the construct that we living in, that every which way we turn, from relationships to TV to media to music to our jobs to our businesses, is creating a overly productive stress atmosphere, which is going to cause you each and every time to overproduce cortisol and adrenaline that's going to get dumped off into the blood. Now, what's the problem with it getting dumped off into the blood? Well, remember, in order to get an erection, you have to have blood pumped in there. You have to have blood pumped in there by way of the erectile tissues. So let's go. Let me pull up a picture so y'all can see what I'm talking about. First, if y'all can see my screen, type in some twos. If y'all can see my screen, type in some twos. Before I move on, I want to make sure y'all see my screen. Again, we going through a storm, so I want to make sure y'all see everything I'm seeing. Type in some twos in the chat. Type in some twos in the chat. So let's deal with it. Type in some twos if y'all can hear me. Type in some twos if you can see the picture. All right. So let me make sure we clear. So now I want y'all to look at the picture. So now we're dealing with the male reproductive organs. We got the urinary bladder. We got the seminal vesicle. We ain't gonna really deal with we don't have to really deal with the rectum today. Obviously, that's dealing with the anus. We got the prostate. We got the epididymis. We got the testes, the penis, the urethra, and the vas deferens. Now, I want y'all to see. Y'all see what a urinary bladder is, right? The urinary bladder obviously sits right over the prostate and the seminal vesicle. right? It's also dealing with the urethra, right? And you have the vas deferens. So let's first deal with the prostate. We went over the prostate a little bit last week, but we'll go over it again. Now, remember, the prostate is dealing with your testosterone. That's dealing with your PSA, which is your prostate specific antigen. This is that chemical. Remember, I said that protein that actually binds up, and it actually, by way of the seminal vesicle, helps support and bind it to the semen. And that's where the seminal vesicle come in. The seminal vesicle actually helps bind that PSA, that prostate specific antigen. It helps it bind it to the semen. Now remember, that PSA is actually what helps suppress a woman's womb, suppress her immune system specifically, so that he's able to actually lay seed, right? So we went over the woman's vagina and her acidic fluids, her lubricants, right? That's there to protect her. But it's by way of the PSA, the prostate specific antigen, that helps pretty much suppress that, so he's able to properly put seed in her. Now, this is why we have to understand the chemical components of things. When you look at the PSA, when you look at the prostate, remember the semen is supposed to sit at between 7.2 and 7.4 on the pH scale, which would obviously label it as an alkaline substance. Now imagine, right? Now imagine when you're taking on this soy, when you're taking on this synthetic weed, when you're taking on this pharmaceutical medicines, when you're taking on these processed foods and these high synthetic sugary content type of foods, that's literally creating an acidic environment that's starting to burn or inflame your prostate. What do you think your semen gonna come out of? Do you think it's gonna come out of being alkaline, or you think it's gonna come being acidic? That's the question. I'm gonna ask you on the chat. If you see, right, that you're eating things that's causing not only your estrogen levels to rise up, which we already went over last week, that estrogen sits on the acidic side on the pH scale, right? And then you're eating components as processed foods, soy, synthetic sugars. You're taking pharmaceutical medicines. You're smoking synthetic weed, right? Not to mention, we didn't even get to the devices yet. And we'll get to that too. But if you're taking things that's leaving an acidic ash, that's causing acid to rise, which we know estrogen is sitting on the acidic side, and it's causing your estrogen levels to rise. But your testosterone levels, which sits on, that helps bind and build up, that sits on the alkaline level, helps actually with your semen. If you see that your estrogen levels is rising up, your testosterone levels is coming down, and you're creating acid, what do you think your semen is going to come out of? Do you think it's going to come out on the acidic side, or do you think it's going to come out on the alkaline side? I want to see that in the chat. Put it in the chat. Let's see what y'all think. If you're taking on acidic substances and your estrogen levels is going high, your testosterone levels is going down, do you think your semen will come out acidic, or do you think it's going to come out alkaline? Put it in the chat. It's going to come out acidic. It's going to come out remember, testosterone, semen is sitting on the alkaline side of chemistry. Estrogen, acid, clearly is sitting on the acidic side of chemistry. So if on a normal level, that your testosterone level, your semen is supposed to be balanced. It's supposed to be on the cooling side. But you're taking things that's causing inflammation to rise. It's causing your prostate to be inflamed and start to look like a brain versus a walnut. And your estrogen levels is rising, and your hormonal balance is off, which is a sign of an acidic environment. Of course, your semen is going to be acidic. This is the part we were talking about last week, where this is where men are actually involved with causing yeast infection in women or vaginosis in women, because his acidic levels in his semen are not where it needs to be. He should be on the alkaline side and not the acidic side. So when you're taking, again, processed food, and not just for people who eat meat, who dealing with carbonic acid, I'm also talking about those who claim to be vegan. especially if you eat processed vegan foods like Impossible Burgers or Beyond Meat burgers, which is known, scientifically proven, and on document that it actually raises estrogenic levels. Let me tell y'all something. It was a time where I really used to eat what was it? Beyond Meat burgers, right? Before I really did my thorough research on it, right? This is when I was transitioning. And before I started eating, I was just on a straight plant-based diet, fruits, all that good stuff, right? My urine was clear, not clear like in like physical clear, but it didn't have no strong smell to it. My defecation didn't have no smell to it. My sleeping patterns was good, dropping weight. And when I started to actually eat Beyond Meat burgers, especially on the Shabbat, right? On the Shabbat, that's where I eat like 2 of them. So I noticed I started to pick up constipation. And not only did I pick up constipation, but I started to actually pick up physical weight. And I also started to see different formalities in my chest that I wasn't used to seeing. And so I was trying to figure out for like two weeks, like, what happened? What's this change? My defecation started to smell. My urine started to kind of, and I'm like, I'm not eating no meat. I'm not eating no cheese. Why am I having these type of smells? So something told me to go look at the ingredients on Beyond Meat burgers. And so when I went to go research it and I went to go test it and everything, it came out that the chemicals within the Beyond Meat raises the estrogen levels of men extremely high, and you actually start to see men have a lot of colon issues who are eating an abundance of Beyond Meat burgers. So I praise the Creator for giving me the thought to look it up. But as I was saying, that processed food does not put away vegans, because vegans eat processed food too. See, there's a difference between being plant-based and vegan. A lot of vegan people are eating meat replacement processed foods that actually are becoming worse than chicken itself. It's becoming worse than meat. So you are seeing a lot of vegans who are becoming actually more sick, and they look more sick than those on meat. And why is that? It's because the reality is your food is literally being made in a lab. It's being scanned in the lab. And you're eating this all in the name of not eating meat, but something that looks like meat. So it kind of gives me the psychological comfort that I ain't eat meat, but it still give me that little comfort that I miss. But you're not realizing that you better off on the meat because you're becoming worse than those on the meat. So yes, vegans who eat processed replacement meals or processed alternative meat replacements are also on that side of having erectile dysfunction or having prostate cancer, because you're eating foods that's lowering your testosterone levels and raising your estrogenic levels. So going back to what I'm saying. So when you look at the prostate, again, the prostate is in charge of not only helping create the testosterone, but it's also helping create that prostate specific antigen that goes into a woman, right? Now, just like you see the urinary bed, you see this one line? It's called the urethra. The urethra, right there, that red line. You see it's connecting to the urinary bladder, then it's going down, going through the prostate, then it's connected to the seminal vesicle. Well, this urethra is what actually pumps the penis to actually either ejaculate or urinate. Now, the question is, with taking all these things that causes erectile dysfunction or prostate cancer, how exactly is the blood stop being pumped to the penis? How is it that I'm having a delay in my urination, or I'm having a hard time urinating? What is the delay that I'm suffering? What's causing me to delay? Well, I'm gonna show y'all. Let me stop sharing this real quick. Hold on real quick, family. My bad, family. All right, so let me share this with y'all. Y'all can see this? Type some ones in the chat. If y'all can see this, type some ones in the chat. If y'all can see this, type some ones in the chat. Y'all can see this, type some ones in the chat. All right, let's get it. So now, on the left, this is what we see. We see a normal urinary bladder. We see a normal urethra. We see a normal prostate, right? Like I said, when your prostate is almost like in a walnut shape, that's what you call a normal size. We also see the seminal vesicle, right? So we see the prostate is normal. It's not too large. It's not starting to circumference the bladder. It's not starting to blur out the urethra. It's totally fine and it's flowing properly, right? But then we see on the right, this is what you call an enlarged gland, an enlarged prostate gland. And that's another thing people have to understand. The prostate is a gland. It's not an organ. It's an actual gland. So if it's a gland, that means it produces hormones. That's the only way you're going to find hormones is by way of a gland. So if we're dealing with hormones, that means we're dealing with energy, which means we're dealing with emotion, which means we're dealing with logic and balance. So anytime you start to see the prostate start to enlarge itself, or you see the prostate start to lose its hormonal balance, you start to see a change in the man's mood. He becomes more aggressive. He becomes more emotional. He becomes more sick. He becomes more docile. You will see a lot of men who are docile that have a prostate issue. So now, but what causes this prostate to rise? Well, you have something called the prostaglandin, right? It's a hormone. And then you have obviously a hormone called androgen. And this androgen actually helps balance. It actually helps balance not only the cholesterol levels, but it also helps balance the prostate hormones, right? Now, anytime you see this prostaglandin rise, you will actually start to see it actually weaken the prostate gland. You will start to see it enlarges or inflames the prostate gland. And that's also due to stress. Stress is another main factor that can cause an enlarged prostate or an inflamed prostate. Not just internal stress by what you consume, but also external stress or what you consume on the outside too. This is why we have to change the mindset of our environment. We have to shift our environment to more of an environment that's dealing with love, that's dealing with peace, that's dealing with respect, that's dealing with selflessness, that's dealing with honor, that's dealing with grace, that's dealing with mercy. Because we're dealing with an environment that's lack love. We're dealing with an environment that's lacking trust. We're dealing with an environment that's lacking any type of stability or security. So anytime you're on the side of insecurity or disability or unsustainability, you're going to always yield stress. So if we're seeing that stress can play a major factor on your prostaglandin hormone and also your adrenal gland, remember? Because anytime you have stress, you release stress factor hormones called cortisol and adrenaline. And anytime you have the prostaglandin rise and you start to have the cortisol rise and the adrenal gland rise too much and overproduce, you're going to cause inflammation. And this is what you see here. You see your prostate gland being inflamed. This is why you find most men, when they're stressed the hell out, they can't have sex. They can't even for the life of them get their penis hard. Because now it's being bound due to high prostaglandin levels, high cortisol levels, and high adrenaline levels, and he's stressed the hell out. He can't even cause proper blood flow to the penis because he's overthinking, and every day he's thinking about how he's going to eat, how he's going to feed his family, how he's going to work, how he's going to make it, how he's going to survive. Never coming to the state of mind of flourishing, never coming to the state of mind of peace, never coming to the state of mind of balance, because every which way he turns, from going outside to coming inside, it's hell and hot water. It's hell and hot water. So this is why you start to see a very high rise of men dealing with prostate cancer. There are two main things that causes a man to go into disease. Two, it's stress, it's food, and it's environment. And guess what? The food is influenced by the environment. So ultimately, we're going back to what, y'all? What are we going back to? If the two main things that cause a man to go into disease is food and environment, and food is majorly influenced by the environment, what should we focus on, y'all? Put it in chat. What should we focus on then? Put it in chat. If food is majorly influenced by the environment, and we see that food and the environment plays a major role in causing the man to go into disease, what should be the main thing that we should really then focus on, y'all? Should it be food or should it be in the environment? Put it in the chat. Should we focus more on the food or should we focus more on the environment? Put it in the chat. I hope y'all enjoying this. For my brothers who may be on, I hope y'all taking all this information. We got to do better. As men, we are called to be protectors. We are called to be providers. We are called to be visionaries for our family. But how can you provide if you're sick? How can you protect your wife from any force of nature if you're sick? How can you even think clearly and be a visionary if your mind is blogged up and you having foggy memory and you're sick? How? So I need my brothers to really start taking charge of their health, man. I get more sisters that come to me than men. Women have no problem expressing what they're going to, and they're taking their health by the horns. But brothers, our pride is getting in the way. And if you read the Bible, you know the Bible says what? Pride is the beginning of the fall. Pride is the beginning of destruction. And a lot of brothers is getting destroyed by this specific cancer, this specific disease, because their pride is in the way. They don't want to get checked. They don't want to take no tests. They don't want to change their diet. They want to be He-Man. They think they can actually go against nature. They think they can go against God. Yes, us men think we can go against God and think that we can take on the whole world. And at the end, you got brothers only living with the life expectancy of 65 years old. I don't know about y'all, but that made me feel some type of way. We got a young brother at 20 years old suffering from erectile dysfunction. Brother, it has not even got his penis wet yet. Or he shouldn't. And he already going through erectile dysfunction. Which puts another part in this too, because our sister's not exempt too. Because you'll actually start to see reports coming out now that you will start to see an early progress of erectile dysfunction in children due to that baby being on the breast milk and what that woman is doing too. Because remember, there's soy, especially in America, there's a lot of soy in the food, y'all. There's a lot of soy in the food. And I'm telling you, I'm pleading with my sisters, especially my sisters with sons. You really want to get away from the estrogen, and if they're eating anything with estrogen, have them stop eating it, because it's causing their estrogenic levels to shoot sky high. I really believe, and this is just my opinion, I'm not saying this is facts, but I believe if we actually tested a lot of homosexuals, you probably would see that their estrogen levels is very high. I don't believe anybody is born homosexual. I believe the environment plays a major role in that. And I guarantee we will see, not only through them going through a stressful, traumatic experience, and we pray for them, right? Because the reality is a lot of them went through a traumatic experience, or they was exposed to an environment that was not natural. It wasn't. You'll see a lot of them not having their fathers around. So when we're looking at, even from the embryonic level, or we're looking from that process of being in the womb and coming out the womb, our sisters, you have a major role in even your diet, because whatever you are eating, that baby is eating too. Whatever you're eating, that baby is taking through that galactose called breast milk, and it's causing their estrogenic levels at an early age to go off. So our sisters have a responsibility to our brothers as well to make sure that we're having balance. Because this food, it's damnable food that we're eating, y'all. This is why we got to take back being in charge of our education, being in charge of growing our own food, being in charge of protecting our people, being in charge of putting up institutions that we can truly cultivate the minds through our culture and our lens. Because us taking on another people's culture, us taking on another people's consciousness has caused us to stay in a suppressed and oppressed, diseased state. And part of the natural way to get free is to start freeing the mind of these toxins, is to start freeing the organs of these toxins, is to start freeing the cells of these toxins. But it starts with you stopping blaming somebody else and you taking accountability and responsibility of what you're putting in your mouth, of what you're putting in your home, of what you put inside you, women, and man, what you're inserting yourself into. These all play the major factors of why, as a people, we have not moved forward or regenerated. We have only degenerated. But best believe there is a consciousness right now on the earth that's awakening people to this knowledge, that's awakening people to the diet, that's awakening people to the education, that's awakening people to financial literacy, that's awakening people to economics, that's awakening people to land, that's awakening people to agriculture. And we're saying enough is enough. You are no longer going to tell me what to eat, what to think, or what to wear. Because this thing go deeper. We can go even deeper down to the clothes. That's another thing, brothers. Your underwear plays a major part in your prostate health too. Most of y'all wearing them nylon underwear or those polyester underwear of some of y'all who play sports. You're literally wearing compression shorts. What does compression mean? To compress, to suppress something. So you're literally not only suppressing your testes, your nuts, but you're also not allowing your penis to breathe. You're not allowing your penis to actually naturally hang. You will see, and it's scientifically proven, when men are wearing extremely tight underwear, specifically polyester or nylon or compression shorts, you will see that men are actually starting to lose inches. That is part of the reason, outside of their estrogenic levels going up in soy, but because of the underwear, men are starting to actually lose inches because their penis is being suppressed. And y'all can look all this up. You can look all this up. So you'll see that there are certain type of underwear, and that's for men and women, that we really should not be wearing. We went over this last week with the women. They're wearing nylon, polyester panties, mixed fabric, synthetic panties that got chemicals in it. Brothers, your underwear got chemicals in it. It's being released into your vagina. It's being released and suppressing your prostate and causing it to be inflamed. On top of, let's not go to the devices. Brothers, you putting your phone in your pants, not realizing that you're microdosing radiation. And radiation is what? It's chemical inflammation. So that's another thing you will find, that putting your phone in your pocket is causing major inflammation in a man's prostate. Putting like this laptop, putting your laptop on your lap while you work it, especially for extreme amount of time, is causing a man's prostate to be enlarged. It's causing it to be inflamed, causing your prostaglandin hormones to rise up. And anytime it rises up, not only does it cause your prostate to contract, but it causes it to inflame, and it becomes this, y'all. Let me show y'all what it becomes. Moving to the next slide. Let me show y'all what it becomes. It becomes this. Now y'all see. Remember, let me show y'all again on the other picture. Remember, we went to this, right? And we see on the left, that's a normal size, a walnut-shaped prostate. But on the right, we see an enlarged prostate. Now, when we go even deeper and we go to a more detailed picture like we just went to, you will see this. You will see this. On the left, you see a normal prostate. You see remember we said the urethra, Through the urethra, that's where your semen flow through. Through the urethra, that's where your urination flow through. Now imagine that you have an enlarged prostate, which is on the right. Now look on the left. You see there's a clear path for the urethra, right? But when you look on the right, once that prostate starts to inflame, it starts to put a gap between the penis and between the urinary bladder and between the seminal vesicle and between the prostate itself. It starts to enclose that urethra, and this is what it means. This is why when you're having sex, you probably can't get your penis up. This is why when you finally do ejaculate, you're not ejaculating that much. This is why it's difficult for you to actually urinate, and you have to force yourself to the point you almost pushing your lung out. Because your prostate is so inflamed that it's enclosing your urethra that's in charge of making sure the semen and urine is properly flowing to the shaft, properly flowing to the erectile tissue. This is what prostate cancer looks like right here. This is why you're suffering from erectile dysfunction. This is what leads to kidney disease. This is what leads to cardiovascular disease. This is what leads to high cholesterol levels. And ultimately, this is what makes you sterile, brothers. This is what makes you sterile. All because in the name of pharmaceutical medicines, all in the name of processed foods, all in the name of synthetic weed, all in the name of synthetic sugar, all in the name of conveniently putting your device in your pocket or your laptop on your lap. Huh? All in the name of putting synthetic underwear on. That's suppressing your nuts. That's suppressing your penis. That's inflaming your prostate due to the complex chemical compounds within your own very underwear. Knowing you should be wearing linen underwear or 100% cotton underwear where you can actually have your nuts and your penis breathe. See, when we start to educate ourselves, we will start to change the narrative and we will not let people take control of our health. If y'all understand what I'm saying, drop some sevens in the chat. If y'all understand what I'm saying, drop some sevens in the chat. Drop some sevens in the chat if you understand what I'm saying. All right, let's continue. So with that being said, obviously, the question will be, well, what if I have how do I check my prostate? I just gave y'all some. This is how you check your prostate. If you find yourself struggling to urinate, right? That shows you that you may have an inflamed or enlarged prostate. Another way you could test, it's called the urinary test. The same way you test your kidneys. Remember, all you do is take, I ain't got it right here, let me see it. All you gotta do is take a mason jar. When you, the first thing in the morning, wake up, take a mason jar. Or you can just use your toilet. So what you should be looking for in your urination is this. If you start to see white pus, thick pus in your urination, this is a sign that you have an enlarged prostate. If you start to see blood in your urine, this is a sign that you have an enlarged prostate. If you find yourself having to force yourself to urinate to start, this is a sign that you have an enlarged prostate. If you find yourself still leaking after you're done urinating, this is a sign that you're having a prostate issue. Obviously, if you have an erectile dysfunction, this is a sign that your prostate is inflamed. And you will see, again, most people dealing with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, high cholesterol level, and most importantly, not working out, not doing any physical activity. A lot of the time they fall to a weakened prostate, which ultimately causes them to have erectile dysfunction. So, all right, Mikael, you told us all these things. So what can help? I'm going to tell y'all, write this down. Write this down. The best food that will help not only heal your prostate, but keep a balanced prostate gland is berries, family. Full of antioxidants. Full of antioxidants. Helps regenerate the cell because remember, in the testes, you have something called sperm cells. So this actually helps your sperm count get up, which is another issue that we see in the black man, because he is number one in prostate cancer. He is number one in erectile dysfunction. Back in the 90s, we used to have a count of 120 million sperm count. Guess what it is now, y'all? 49 million. Brothers is only producing 49 million sperm count per milligram nowadays, where it used to be 120 million. The average is between 100 to 120 million, but now brothers is only averaging 49 million. 49 million. Let me show y'all an article real quick, y'all, before I keep going. Let me show y'all an article real quick. So this is called Zero Prostate Cancer. This is an actual cancer institution that studies. Obviously, this is one sector prostate cancer, and they actually do reports, live reports on the stats per year. Now watch this, y'all. They say after skin cancer, prostate cancer is the most common diagnosed cancer among American men. However, rates of prostate cancer vary among different groups of people. Talking about different ethnic groups of men. All men are at risk of developing prostate cancer, but that risk increases significantly as men grow older. Specifically, men who are not on a good diet, specifically men who are not in a good environment, and specifically men who are not physically active. It says other risk factors include family history, exposure to chemicals. And family history could be generational patterns too, y'all. It's not just genetics. It could be generational patterns as well. Exposure to chemicals, which I told you. You wearing deodorant, you put certain lotions on, you wearing chemicalized synthetic underwear, you wearing chemicalized synthetic shirts like polyester shirts, you wearing suppressive jeans, you eating chemicalized synthetic foods, chemicalized synthetic sugars, processed foods, and then it says race. Watch this. It says, unfortunately, black men have a higher risk for developing prostate cancer and dying of the disease. Watch this. Look at this stats, y'all. It says, I'm going to round it off. It says 300,000 new cases of prostate cancer are expected to be diagnosed in 2024. So they already expect them, based upon how the numbers look already, this is where we're headed right now. It says a man is diagnosed with prostate cancer every 2 minutes. 1 out of 8 men is diagnosed with prostate cancer in his life. Prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in men. They said over 35,000 men are expected to die from prostate cancer in 2024. They say a man dies from prostate cancer every 15 minutes, y'all. Again, who's the number one? The black man. And we're going to see that. Watch this. So y'all can actually get it real close. It's prostate cancer facts for the black and African American community. It says black men are 1.7 times more likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer than white men. So we out here teaching that white people got degenerative cells. They're not really assimilated with nature. Nature is against them. But from the looks of it, based upon you taking on your eccentric consciousness, your body is also starting to reflect a degenerative body, black man. Your body is starting to reflect a degenerative body, black woman. Because we're taking on the consciousness and the culture and the way of life and the customs of a people that is not ours. And we think that one way is for all people when you won't even find that in nature. You got a diverse nature of plants. You got a diverse nature of birds. You got a diverse nature of fowls of the air. You got a diverse nature of insects. You got a diverse nature of beasts of the field, cats. You got a diverse nature of wolves. You got a diverse nature of waters. You got rivers, streams, oceans, lakes, diverse. But for some reason, We think that when it comes to mankind or a kind of man, that we actually think that we are all one and one is all. When that is not a fact, you think the creator's gonna make everything else. You got diverse celestials. You got the sun, moon, and stars. You got diverse skies. Every cloud is not the same. But when it comes to mankind, somehow we have philosophized that all mankind are the same. That thought itself is against nature. So if all diverse creations in nature are different, have a different diet, have a different climate, have a different environment, have a different way of life, have a different communication, have a different culture, have a different geographical location, what makes us think that when we got the Asian, the white man or Caucasian man, the Arab man, the African man, American man, whatever you want to describe to, how do we not consider that we also have diverse language, diverse culture, diverse diet, diverse spirituality? How are we not thinking like that with us as mankind, but nature testifies that it's diversity everywhere? It's diversity everywhere. And this is the main reason why we sick, because the seed of sickness was first planted in the mind. The moment we start to go away from our natural way of life and our natural path is when all things became unnatural and all things went from ease to dis-ease. Y'all get what I'm saying? Look at these stats. Black men are 1.7 times more likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer than white men. Black men are 2 times more likely to die from prostate cancer than white men. 1 out of 6 black men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer during his lifetime, y'all. Let's go to the next one. Let's go. Right? And then we got the Hispanics. Hispanic men, 1 out of 9 Hispanic men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer during his lifetime. Prostate cancer is most commonly diagnosed cancer in Hispanic men as well. It says Hispanic men are less likely to be diagnosed with and die from prostate cancer than non-Hispanic white men and non-Hispanic black men. However, prostate cancer mortality rates among men in Puerto Rico are 40% higher than those of non-Hispanic white men. So you see, not only is the so-called black man higher in this so-called disease called prostate cancer than the white man, but even the brown man called a Hispanic is higher. Family, we got to do better. We got to do better as a community. We got to take more ownership of our health, our wealth, our finances, our protection, our provision, and overall the vision of the community. We have to stop allowing the people to tell us about us when we know us. It's all in the ancient writings. It's all in the ancient culture. We are the ones who was given the covenant. We are the ones who was given the promise. We are the original inheritors of the earth. So how are we allowing the people who we originally taught to teach us from a complex, diluted, alternative way? Pharmaceutical medicine really is alternative. Herbs is natural. Herbs is original. Herbs is primary. Plants was the original diet. Plants was the primary diet. It was not the side dish. It was not the snack. I've given you every green herb bearing seed and every fruit with seed within itself bearing from a tree. To you it should be food. Genesis 1:29. First thing given to man. So when we start to go back to a natural ethic of way of thinking, a natural ethical way of living, a natural ethical way of speaking, a natural ethical way of making love, a natural ethical way of taking care of ourselves, you will find a balance of homeostasis in our community. You will find it. So when it comes to the prostate, again, berries is the best fruit. If you dealing with prostate cancer or you dealing with erectile dysfunction, I would highly suggest you go on a berry cleanse. Not just a berry cleanse, but I also would suggest going on a berry and melon cleanse. Reason I say melons because they're very hydration, and they deal with a lot of antioxidants as well. And remember, Your prostate is a gland, and in your gland you have hormones, right? And in those hormones, especially in the testes, you have something called sperm cells. With your cells need water content. So I'm gonna highly suggest berries and melons for you to go on. I would say at the minimum 21 days. Nothing but berries and melons. Specifically primary, I would say 80% berries, 20% melons. Vegetables, as far as vegetables, if you actually go with the cruciferous family, which is your broccoli, your bok choy, your kale, your cabbage, your collards, these are also good for building the prostate, and they dealing with antioxidants, they're dealing with heavy metal or any antibacterial issue that you may have, right? So you want to start predominantly having a diet where it's 85% raw vegetables and fruit. And if you go and do anything outside of that, it only need to be 10 to 15% of your day. But majority, if you really want to reach a balance of homeostasis, a raw livid lifestyle, a raw plant-based livid lifestyle is the best. Now let's deal with herbs. Herbs that actually not only heal and bring the inflammation down from the prostate, but it helps rebuild it. You got saw palmetto. You also got your berry family. You got your elderberry, your juniper berry, your goji berry, your chaseberry, saw palmetto, uva ursia, Damiana leaf, good one. Horny goat weed is a good one. These are all herbs that you can do equal parts, and you can make your own compound. And not only will you see your prostate heal, but you will also start to see that you can have an erection again. You will see proper blood flow. So burdock root as well, chaparral leaf, that will bring that iron phosphate, that will bring that oxygen flow to the blood. And you can heal from this. This is not something you can't heal from. They start talking about surgery. You know, you ain't got to get no surgery. If you want to get real surgery, the surgery's in nature. Let the plant do the surgical procedure for you. Where they're going in and surgically removing toxins. They're going in surgically removing inflammation. They're going in surgically removing bad bacteria. They're going to surgically remove bad cells. See that? You don't have to, when it comes to internal disease, you don't always have to go get the knife to you. You don't always have to go. Another thing for my brothers, we have something called men's testosterone balance. Y'all see that? Men's testosterone balance. It's on my website. It's not only cleanses the shaft and makes sure you have proper blood flow. This is something you can take every day. It also helps with making sure the hormones within the prostate is properly functioning. And that's something you can take on the day. It's called a men's testosterone balance. You can get it on my website, www.theidenticsexperience.org. It's the website going across the screen. Another one on our website, it's called the Bitter to Better. The Bitter to Better Herbal Tonic. The Bitter to Better Herbal Tonic. It's a really good tonic. Obviously dealing with the bitters help cleanse out. The bitters help also with your blood flow. It helps cleanse the blood. It helps with the prostate as well. It helps make a clear path for the urethra. It also helps with the kidneys. Again, remember, a lot of people you see with erectile dysfunction and prostate issue, they all also have kidney issues. So we want to make sure that we're filtrating properly as well. So when you start to get on an energetic electrical diet, you will start to see electricity move through your body. You will start to see the electrical currents of your blood move. You will start to see the electrical currents of your cells move. And you will become an electrical being again, family. So with that being said, do we have any questions dealing with the prostate? We have any questions dealing with the prostate? Again, make sure y'all click like and subscribe to the channel. Share with your brothers, share with your uncles, share with your fathers. Share with your cousins, your nephews. Because this is a message all brothers need to hear. Again, if you're looking for products, especially for healing, www.theidenticsexperience.org. If you got any questions, even after this live, for those who may be watching the feed back, you can email us at questions@theidenticsexperience.org, and that's where we will answer all your questions at. So if you got any questions now while we're on the live, let me know. But if y'all did get some understanding of the function of prostate, the detrimental issue in our community dealing with prostate cancer and erectile dysfunction, If y'all got some understanding and overstanding, understanding, I need y'all to drop some threes in the chat. Drop some threes in the chat. Drop some threes in the chat. All right, cool. That being said, we ain't got no questions. Y'all got some understanding, overstanding. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I hope the information sat well with you all. Again, please make sure you click like and subscribe to the channel. Again, my name is Mikael Ben Ward. This is the Denic Experience. And again, welcome you all to Mike Mondays. We do this every Monday at 8 o'clock p.m. We can also do this. If there's a specific topic of health that you want to talk about, you can email us also at questions@thedenicexperience.org, and we will do a whole live topical. Okay. So with that being said, I'll see y'all next week. Peace, love, balance, and prosperity. Shalom, shalom.